Hi everyone, you're welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping right here on my space today. If this is your first time of coming across my channel, you are highly welcome. This channel is centered around sewing. I share sewing tutorial videos and pattern drafting right here on my channel. So if this is something you're interested in, or you're in a fashion niche, or you always like to get updates on fashion and also get updates on tutorials as well, you can please do consider subscribing to this channel because it's never going to be a thing of regret. So in today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you all how I achieved this beautiful tiered gypsy gown with a tie back. So I made use of a cotton fabric right here and use of two colors, pink and red. So continue watching and please do not skip any part of this video because I will try as much as possible to make this tutorial a detailed one. So without much ado, I'll just get started. So like I said earlier on, I made use of two colors of fabric in the making of this dress, though it wasn't so visible on the camera, but right here I have pink and red fabric, and each is about 1.5 yards. So aside that, I also have my sewing materials here. I have my scissors, I have my tape, and I have my ruler as well. So I'll start by drafting in basic bodies. The first line I'm marking at the top of my paper is my shoulder line, and all my measurements will be starting from there, and exactly on that line I'll be dividing my shoulder of 14 inches into two, which is 7 inches, but I went ahead to subtract 1 inch and I marked 6 inches. So for my neck depth, I'll be working with a neck depth of 6 inches, thereby I'll be subtracting 6 inches from all my vertical measurements. So right here I'm going to mark 8 inches for my armhole length, and like I said earlier on, I subtracted 6 inches because 6 inches is my neck depth right here, because this is an off shoulder. Okay, so I subtracted the 6 inches and I marked my 8 inches, which is my armhole. So 8 inches is usually the standard measurement for an adult armhole, but if you're in a bigger size, you can go ahead to add extra 1 inch to your armhole, making it 9 inches. I hope this is clear enough. So I also went ahead to mark my bust points, for that's from my shoulder to my nipple, and also from my shoulder to my half length or my waistline, and also went ahead to label all of these lines. So on that my chest line, that's the line labeled CL, I'll divide my bust circumference into 4, and I'll go ahead now and also extend that line to that point. And on my waistline, I'm going to divide my waist circumference to 4, and I have 7.5 inches right there. So I'll go ahead now and connect it all the way to my chest line. So the next thing I'll simply do is to add 1 inch, which is going to serve as my stitching or my sewing allowance, and I'll also use my ruler and connect it just this way. So having done this, the next I'm going to do is to give my armhole a curve. So from that point, you can see that I went ahead to mark 1 inch, and I'm just going to use my curved rule to connect this like this to form a beautiful armhole. So the next I'm going to do is to cut this out, because I'm done cutting out for this part, and I'll be cutting out on another piece of paper exactly what I have right here. So I'll be having exactly this on 2 paper. Okay, so yeah, we're working with one part of this already drafted bodice. Okay, so now from that my shoulder line, I'm going to come down by 3 inches, and that 3 inches I'm just going to connect to the other side of my shoulder, just exactly where my armhole started. Okay, so okay, now from my waist I'll also come up by 3 inches as well. So after that, now I'll use my stretch ruler to connect from that 3 inches I went up by up until the point where I gave this my stitching allowance. Okay, so this is what I did, and I'll go ahead now to cut this out exactly the way I marked right here. So you can see what I have right here. After cutting this out, now I'll go ahead and label this my back, so I'll actually know the parts that is going for each each side, okay, so in order not to get confused. And this is my front. So for this my front, I'll just go ahead to bring down the neckline a bit by marking 1.5 inch, because I want the neckline a bit round or curved and not straight. So you can see how I curved this, and I'll go ahead and cut out just the exact way which I marked right here. I'm done with the upper part or the basic bodice of this dress. I'll go ahead now to cut it out on this my piece, but I'll be making use of the red part for the upper part because I want to be combining this my pink and my red fabric together. So I'm going to get started by folding this fabric into two and also ironing this because it was very rumpled. So after this, I'll go ahead and place this my pattern paper and also cut out. So right here you can see that I've cut out for both the front and the back. And for the base of my dress, you can of this paper, sorry, I added 1 inch for stitching allowance, and at the top I added 3/4 of an inch. So for this my back dress, for the top at that point I marked 3/4, and for this other side I marked 1/2 inch, and for the base I marked 1/2 of an inch. So that was the allowance I gave to it, but I didn't add allowance to the armhole and to the sides. To the side I already give it this allowance while drafting. So I'll go ahead and unpin all of this. So I'll keep it by the side because I'll be working with the down part or the skirt part of this gown. Okay, so before I do that, I'm just going to give you guys a little rundown on what I'll do right here. So the full length of this gown is 35 inches, right? So of course you all know that I've already drafted the basic bodice, which is the upper part of this my dress, also called or known as the half length of 16 inches. So right here I'll be subtracting 16 inches from 35 inches. So right here I'm trying to determine the length of this skirt part of my gown. So 16 inches subtracted from 35 inches, I have 19 inches left. So this automatically means that the skirt part of this gown is going to be 19 inches. So again is that this dress, this skirt will be having 2 layers or 2 tiers. So meaning that I am going to be dividing this my skirt length of 19 inches into 2. Okay, so dividing this into 2, I have 9.5 inches. So this automatically means that each layer is going to be 9.5 inches. Okay, so if I was actually working with a 3-layer dress, I'll divide 19 inches by 3. So that's how you just keep going about it. If it's 4 layers, I'll divide 19 inches by 4. But because I'm working with 2 layers of this gypsy gown, I'm going to divide into 2. Okay, I hope it's clear enough. So I was just trying to explain and re-explain right here what I want to do. So that is as simple as it is. So I'm going to get my fabric because I'm working on my fabric right here. So I'm going to get my fabric and I'm going to fold this into 2. So please do note that why I fold this into 2, I'm going to calculate my waist. So my waist circumference is 30 inches. So I'm going to be multiplying this by 2. So if I multiply this by 2, I have 60 inches. This means that the waist which I'm going to mark out right here now is going to be 60 inches. And for the first layer of this my gown, I'm going to mark I'm going to measure out 9.5 as the length, okay, and 60 inches wide. So I have this my fabric on fold and I'm going to measure what I have right there, and if it's up to 30 inches, I know that I'm on a safer side because by the time I open this up, I'm going to have 60 inches. That is 30 plus 30 is 60 inches on fold, please. So before I go ahead to cut out on this my folded fabric, I'll go ahead and first mark 1 inch from the top of my fabric. So this 1 inch, you can see that I went ahead to make dots right here, which I'm connecting into a straight line. So from that line which I already marked, I'll start from there and I'm going to mark about 10.5 inches. So all of this is for my joining allowance. So after connecting this into a straight line, I'll use my ruler. Sorry, I'm going to use my scissors and cut this out. We don't use a ruler to cut out, rather a scissors. So that was a mistake. So I'm going to cut this out right here, and after cutting out, this is what I have right here. So this is for the pink fabric. For the first layer, I'll make use of the pink fabric, and for the second layer, make use of the red fabric. So I'm going to measure this all together, and you can see that I have 11 inches right there. So to get the second layer of this my gown, I'm actually going to multiply whatever it is I had as my waist circumference on my first layer by 2. So if I should multiply this by 2, I have 120 inches. But due to the fact that I don't want this too big, I don't want the flare or the gathers too big, I just went ahead to add 60 inches plus 30, which is my actual waist circumference. But if you want this bigger or fuller, you can go ahead and also multiply what you had on your waist circumference by 2. So I went ahead to do all of that, and also folded this my fabric into 4 because I'll be joining this. Okay, so I simply went ahead to place the first layer of my gown on my skirt on this folded fabric because it's of the same length but not the same, so it's of the same length, yeah, but not the same width, yeah, as actually. So I went ahead now to cut this out, and I'm going to spread this out, and you see what I have right here. So I'll go ahead now to join these two parts I have here after trimming the ends, and after joining, I'll just come back and show you guys what I have right here. So this is what I have, and it is long enough in order for me to get 90 inches, which is going to be the waist circumference of this second layer of my gown. So guys, right here I went ahead now to measure this out for you all to see what I mean, and I'm measuring out on fold. Okay, so I realized that it was longer than 90 inches, and trust me, I didn't want this too full like I said earlier, so I went ahead to subtract 20 inches from just one part, and I also got one part of the ends and I hemmed it as well. So you can see right here, I'm showing you guys what I did right here. So after that, now I'm also going to go back to my upper part of my dress, or the basic bodice part of this gown. So for the neckline, I'm going to fold this. I don't want to pipe, neither do I want to fix a facing to this, so I'll go ahead and fold the neckline area. So for the back as well, I'll go ahead and also fold. I'll arrange this properly first because this was a bit confusing. So I'm going to fold that upper part, that area which I just pointed right here. I'm going to fold for the two parts, and I'll come back and show you all what I have. So right here after folding, you can see what I have. This is for the front part of my dress, and I just went ahead to fold the neckline area and also folded the part I showed you for the back part. So I'm going to make sure that this aligns at the armhole, that's the front and the back bodies. I'll make sure they align at the armhole, and I'll go ahead now to pin this down. So I'm going to pin for the two sides of the back of this my dress, making sure that they both correspond on the armhole area. So the next I'm simply going to do right here is also to pin the sides, because I'm going to be joining the sides and also folding the base of this my back body. So you can see the part I'm showing right here. So please fold into 2. Okay, by the time you fold, make sure you go ahead on and iron. So for the sides, I'll pin them together because I'm going to join the sides together, and I'm going to mark 1 inch, which I already gave this as my stitching or my sewing allowance initially while I was drafting. Hope you've not forgotten so fast. So I've gone ahead now to join this, and you can see what I have right here. So the next I'm going to cut out is a rope which should be used in tying the back part of this my dress. So this, I'm going to use the pink fabric to cut out the rope. So this rope, the length here I have is 33 inches, which is extremely longer than what I wanted. I wanted about 20 inches or thereabouts, and for the wideness, this is what I have, 5 inches. So to measure the wideness of your rope, you have to go with the measurement of this part of your back dress. Okay, that part where I'm actually going to fix this rope to actually. So right there you can see I have 3 inches. This simply means that I'm going to fold this firstly from one end, and also go ahead and fold the two sides by 3/4 of an inch at both sides. But before I do that, I'm going to be reducing this rope because I don't want it too long. So firstly, I went ahead to reduce it by 5 inches, which after measuring it was too long. I had to reduce it again by extra 3 inches for me to get about 20 inches. Okay, so I just wanted 20 inches. I didn't want this rope too long. Okay, so guys, after pinning this, I'll go ahead and join the both sides. Okay, and after all of that, now I've gone ahead to do all of that, and I'll go ahead now to fix this my rope to the back part of this my dress. So you can see the parts where I hemmed. I'm not going to place that part to my back dress. So the part I'll be facing to my back dress, right sides facing each other, will be for the rough edge which I didn't stitch. So I'm going to place it like this, and if you watch properly, you see that this aligns properly. So I'm going to pin this, and I'm going to stitch this using just half of an inch. Okay, so I'll do this for the two parts of this my back dress, and I'll show you all what it looks like after stitching. So I'll go right over to my sewing machine and I stitch, and this is what I have. So this is coming out and turning out so beautiful, guys. So I'll be getting this my bodies, and I'm going to fold it into two equal parts, and I'm going to get the center or the midpoint, and I'm also going to notch. So this notch is going to be useful while I'm fixing my tiers to this my upper bodice. Okay, so I'll keep that aside now, and I'll also get my first layer of this my gown, which is the pink part, and I'm going to fold it into two and also get the midpoint and also notch as well. So this is it, and I'm going to run a gather stitch all the way at that top area. So I've gone ahead to run a gather stitch on this top area, and I also did it for the second layer of this my dress. So I ran a gather stitch on top of the parts where I folded. That is for the second layer of my gown. Okay, so for the part I folded, I hemmed one of the ends. That was the part I actually ran a gather stitch on. So I'll get the first layer of this gown, which is the pink part, and I'm going to extend that notched part to the other end, because right here I will start by fixing my second layer to my first layer of my gown. So I also get the second layer and get the middle and also notch. So the parts where I hemmed, I'll be placing it on top on the right side of this first layer of my gown. So I marked half of an inch upward, and I'll make sure it stops right there, making sure that all the notches and the chalk aligns properly, and I'll go ahead to pin this. So guys, right here I'm going ahead now to gather this on top of this my first layer, and I'm also going to stitch on top using this half of an inch. So right here you can see I've gone ahead to gather this, so I'm going to carefully place this, remember, on top on the right side of this my first layer, and exactly under half of an inch I stitched this, and this is what I have. Mine is not too full because this is exactly the way I wanted it. So now I'll also get the upper part of this my gown, and I'll get the notched part of both my first layer and the notched part of this my bodice, and I'm going to pin them together. So the next I will do is to gather this my first layer. I'll gather it on the waist of this my bodice. But guys, please take notes and listen carefully at this point. While you gather, please leave about your waist circumference divided by 2 as extra on the sides. So I'll show you right here, because I left my waist circumference divided into 4 as extra. It wasn't too free on me, so right from that point you can see, so that's where I said you should leave your waist circumference divided by 2 instead of 4. So I would have left about 15 inches extra, but I left 8 inches. So at the end of the day, this was a bit tight on me, so please don't make the mistake I made right here. So I also joined the bodice to my layer using that 1 inch allowance which I gave while I was drafting, if you can remember vividly. So I flipped this to the wrong side of my fabric, and right here I'm going to fold this, but I am going to fold this in such a way that I'll be creating a channel where my elastic can pass through. So I'm going to fold in that 1 inch, and on that 1 inch I'll fold in about 1/4 of an inch, and I'll stitch just at the tip. Okay, I'll just stitch at the tip of this my already folded fabric. Okay, so guys, So just carefully do this. I would advise you just carefully do this, bring out your time and do all of this. So the next thing I went ahead to do is to get my elastic. After folding this, you can see how neat it's looking. This is the inside and the other part is the outside. So I'm just simply going to get my elastic and also get my safety pin, because I'm going to pass this through the channel I created right there. So fixing this elastic to this channel I created was a tug of war, simply because the gathers I had on my dress made it so difficult for my safety pin to pass through. So guys, I would advise that when you want to pass through your elastic, please do ensure you cut off the excesses. That's the excesses on the skirt part and not on your bodies. Okay, so I went ahead to go on ahead to also lose this in order to trim off the excesses. That's the ruffles. You can see the gathers, it is so much right there. So if you have it, it will be very difficult for your elastic to pass through. So I went ahead to cut this out, and after cutting this out, I folded back using my 1-inch allowance for my bodice, and it came out perfect, and it was easy for my elastic to pass through. Please guys, I hope you understand what I mean. As you are doing this, you definitely understand what I mean right here. So I'll now fold from the top like this and cover the rough edges of this my skirt part. So for your elastic, if you don't know, just subtract 5 inches from your waist circumference and also fix your elastic and stitch down the back of your skirt parts, or the skirt part of your gown. So this was all I did guys, and I also went ahead to fix my sleeve, which is a balloon sleeve. I've had a couple of tutorials on how to actually draft and fix a balloon sleeve. Please do check that up on my channel if in case you don't know how to go about that. So guys, I did all of this and it came out so beautiful. At first I kept ironing this fabric, but it was a hard nut to crack. Thank you so much for watching. We've come to the end of this tutorial. See you guys on my next one. Bye.